I don't understand this. You're changing, I can't stand it. My heart can't take this damage. In the way I feel, can't stand it. Baby, I don't understand this. You're changing, I can't stand it. My heart can't take this damage. In the way I feel, can't stand it. Baby, I don't understand this. You're changing, I can't stand it. My heart can't take this damage. In the way I feel, can't stand it. Baby, I don't understand it.
Hey, everybody. This week's guest is Anthony Holter. I'm going to go ahead and bring him up on stage. Hey, Anthony, how are you?
I'm good, sir. How are you?
Pretty good.
Good.
So, what got you into the paranormal?
Oh boy. So, I had an experience when I was a teenager. I was 17 years old, and on the property that I'm helping, where my nephews, and on that property is very old. It's the founding property of the Mayo Clinic in Minnesota, where I'm from. Brothers live there, and I was sleeping on the couch one night, and something kind of prompted me to look out the window. And when I looked out the window, I just saw a big black shadowy mass just kind of encompassing my vision, essentially my point of view. And it kind of like it terrified me because I didn't know what it was exactly. And so like I ran up the stairs because I thought, is it going to be something that's going to endanger, my nephews? And like
Right.
I woke my brother up and I was like, "Hey," I'm like, "I just saw this." And he started laughing at me. And I'm like, "What's so funny?" He's like, "Bro," he's like, "You had a paranormal experience." And I was like, "Well, what the heck is that?" And so from then on, he kind of explained to me, and it was really just around the starting point of when the shows were starting to come out. And he's like, "Here, here's a YouTube video you can watch, kind of explaining, what the paranormal is." And it kind of just captured, my attention, and created a passion after that.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
That's very awesome. I bet you were kind of afraid of what was going on because you didn't understand it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that's what happens, people who don't understand things, usually are afraid of whatever the things are.
Right. And this kind of goes along with that same first question, but have you ever had anything happen when you were a child?
No, I actually haven't. I mean, as far as I remember, I think I maybe lived in a slightly haunted house when I was a kid. Finding out from my brother that the condominium that my mom was getting ready to build for us for our home was built on top of an area where an old house stood where somebody had died in, but it wasn't anything major that set it off. There'd be like, leaks of water from the refrigerator, or maybe like, oh, you go into a kitchen and you see a door open. And so living with my brother and my mom and my dad at the time and my dog, it would be a number of any explainable, explanations. So I never
Right.
really chalked it up to anything.
So the typical famous house ghost.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And there was nothing there that, was threatening. My mom always had this kind of like sixth sense feeling. So any place that we would go to or any place that we would move, she would be able to gauge, if it was a safe environment for us kids to be in. So it was that was kind of handy to have when we moved around.
Yeah. And that's good that she did that.
Hmm.
Hey, Zachary, or Zach. Spirits Unleashed, and Joanne.
Hi, Joanne.
um. So, do you have? Is it just you, or do you have a team?
I do have a team. So, as I mentioned before, I'm from Minnesota originally, and I actually just moved to New Hampshire about 2 months ago. And so I have uh, two chapters going right now. I have one in the Minnesota area, where I originally kind of founded Spectre Paranormal, and then I'm living here with my fiance, and her family, and so my fiance is of course with me, and so it's just us two here in New Hampshire right now. But I have about 4 or 5 team members in Minnesota. Kind of had to split them up because we have the southern Minnesota area, and then just kind of the
Okay.
central and northern as well to take care of. So we do like the Zoom meetings or Skype or whatever, and try to get everyone on the same page and virtual training and all that. So technology is good when it works for that reason, to make sure everyone's on the same page.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's very important too, because you want to
Oh
make
yeah.
sure that you have a great team and that you work good together. Sorry, I'm stuttering.
It's okay.
Um, do you have a favorite paranormal moment with your teams?
Oh boy. I My favorite paranormal moment would have probably been in the beginning when I was starting my team, I had just one other person, and her name was Sam, and we went to investigate the Boyd House in Minnesota. This old, just kind of Victorian-looking house. Very just it was beautiful, absolutely beautiful. The architecture and everything. It was one of those kind of even the owners didn't really know why there was some paranormal activity there, but just kind of being able to travel to the location and do an overnight and just kind of experience it. Those are always, I feel, the best moments. We didn't really have a lot happen. And that sometimes that happens. People have to recognize that you're going to have a dud of an investigation sometimes. You know, like not everything is going to happen.
Of course.
Um, but it was a good feeling energy, which I appreciated because I was actually able to sleep in the overnight investigation. Whereas sometimes I lived in California for 2 years, and I was on part of a team out there for the 2 years that I was out there. And it was such a different drive to some of the locations we would go to, like the Brackenford Manor in Lake Arrowhead, California, or the David Oman House in Beverly Hills. Those are so high, rampant, energy places that like a lot of people have been to and have made their imprint on. So it's kind of nice to have something that was a little bit more even keel, to experience.
Yeah, and that's an awesome experience when you
Mhm.
get to experience.
But it was, good energy. It felt almost like childish in a way. There was some kids' rooms, there was toys that other paranormal teams that had investigated, they left some toys there or whatever. So just kind of like welcoming, and it's respecting the space too, and they respected us, and nothing crazy happened that would send anyone running out the door.
Right. Have you heard of Minnesota Spirit Hunters?
I have, yes. I'm
You
actually
have?
friends with Mark as well.
Okay, good.
Hmm.
Good, awesome. I was just gonna say, he's revamping his team now, so
Hmm.
He's got a lot going on.
Yeah, I know. I've noticed that. I've been following, their progress and watching their Minnesota Spirit cast too as well. So he seems like a really great guy. We were trying to collaborate at one point, but now I'll have to wait till I come back and visit Minnesota or move back again.
That's awesome.
Hmm.
That's really awesome. How did you become a team? How did you get your team together?
I put my team together after realizing that solo investigating was really not the way to go. Number one, it's not safe to do it by yourself. So it was kind of like, you're young and fun and you want to take a risk and, do whatever. But I realized that what drives my passion for the paranormal is educating people. And I realized that I wanted to share that with everybody else. And so I was at work. I was actually an assistant manager for Wendy's for 10 years. And I was at work and I overheard one of my coworkers say that they had something going on in their house. So it was a perfect opportunity to, kind of just sit them down, do an intake interview, see what was going on, because I had a couple other coworkers that were interested in the paranormal as well. So that's kind of how it got started. The amateur stage, didn't really know anything, had some gear, um, you know, to use or whatever. But then it just kind of evolved with experience. You evolve, hopefully, and you learn from your past experiences. So I've been doing this 17 plus years now with everything. So it just kind of started there. And then I put out posts. I look on social media, I join groups, I try to network and connect with people, collaborations, pair unity. Is kind of
Yeah.
the huge thing. I don't care about getting famous or getting money. That's not why I'm doing this. I'm doing it because I love to do it, and I want to teach people, like, hey, and I want people not to be so driven by the Hollywood side of things too. So it's kind of like gauging everyone's opinion, trying to help them learn things. People who are interested, I'll put them through a rigorous interview. And I have paperwork and all kinds of stuff you have to fill out if you're going to join, because we have to be on the same page.
Yep.
Not everything is crazy, not everything is dark or scary. You have to learn all your skills and the coping mechanisms and, be together as one.
Yep, you really do. And that's why it's so important to get to know your team members.
Mhm,
Because if you
absolutely.
don't mesh well and they're not on the same page, it can go totally wrong.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I'm all for, like, team members being open-minded and giving ideas and like doing whatever, to make the team better now. So
Yeah, we have a question from an audience member. Uh, Zach says, "Are you setting up a team where you're at now?"
yeah, Zach. So I'm in New Hampshire now, actually in one of the biggest cities in New Hampshire, Nashua. So right now it is only my fiance and myself, but I will be here in a little bit. Looking forward to making posts for people that are out here on the East Coast or in New England, excuse me, that want to join for investigations.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's very important that you have all the paperwork ready because
Mhm.
anything can happen on an investigation, and it's just important to keep your arse
Mhm.
up to date with paperwork so that you don't have anything come back on you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's not even just paperwork for the team members too. It's to give to clients,
Yep.
or even if you go to, as an extreme example, but say you go to like Waverly Hills, you have to give them paperwork too that they have to sign, or you guys got to collaborate together to figure out what's going on, because you can't just, take audio and video without permission. You don't want to get in trouble for that kind of thing. And it's important to. I have a insurance policy on my team, liability, in case because accidents happen, people stumble, people break things, stuff happens. So it's nice to be able to have a little bit of that coverage to, again, cover your butt in any situation.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the way to go.
hmm
Zach says, have you watched other teams' videos or YouTube's on Facebook?
Yes, I have. So I'm all about collaborating and pair unity. So I try and spend most of my time on YouTube or Facebook, and I like to watch other teams' videos because it's really cool to see like what they integrate into their investigations and how different it is. You can pull all kinds of stuff together and kind of like create your own form of investigating. My favorite team that I watch, they're actually from Minnesota as well. Project Fear is my favorite team that I like to watch on YouTube. Um, but I also do local. Anyone that's local, try to help them with their reviews and comment and engage. It makes it nice to just feel a part of the community. So I spend a lot of time doing that on YouTube and Facebook, watching other teams.
That's awesome. Um, so with this one's kind of a funny question. With your teams, have you ever had a funny prank? Do
I
you guys have fun on your investigations?
Oh yeah, it's not just being serious. You had to have the level of respect no matter where you go. But we have fun. I actually am creating a sub kind of like playlist on my YouTube channel that I'm gonna call bloopers because you gotta have fun. I mean, what's life without it? And fun really kind of like distracts your mind from things that might be scary or things that you don't understand. Not quite, haven't pranked anybody yet. Other than when I was in California, I was kind of like this. I was like the snack guy because when I was on the team there in California, we did, investigations where people could come and spend overnights. And so we had a lot of guests with us. And so we would take a break halfway through the overnight. And I volunteered to put like the snack tray and stuff away in the kitchen or whatever. And there was a group at that time doing an investigation on the main floor where the kitchen was. And the leader came into the kitchen as I was holding that big, tall thing of like solo cups in my arm, and he freaked the heck out because it was dark. And so all he saw was this silhouette of me, this dark silhouette and this whole sleeve of cups, and he freaked out, and that was pretty hilarious.
I bet.
It was great. But yeah, you gotta have fun. You gotta do that. I think it's important for people to have blooper reels because I
Yeah,
could
you
I could
gotta.
post everything, just
Exactly. You
whatever.
gotta have fun. And lets you get to know your team members
Oh yeah,
and how they act around certain situations and everything under the sun.
oh yeah,
So
absolutely. I mean, for
that's
me,
awesome.
my biggest thing is I don't like people coming up behind me to scare me. That's my big thing. It's like as long as you don't do that, we're good.
Right. It's kind of like mine with walking down the stairs that have the open holes.
Oh yeah,
I keep thinking something's gonna grab my leg, and it
right.
just freaks me out.
Yeah, exactly. That would freak anybody out.
Yeah. So, do you have any investigations coming up?
I'm slowly trying to get integrated and plan some. I'm actually there is a couple blocks down the road from here where I live, a historical society, because of course New England is all like the Civil War territory. Um, so it's enriched in a lot of history, a lot of energy that you can just feel, if you're a little sensitive like that or an empath. So I'm trying to work with the historical society to get into one of their homes that they have nearby, and then I'm also making a trip to Gettysburg real soon. Soon as in spring when it warms up a little bit. But
Okay.
that'll be really fun because that's kind of on one of my bucket lists, is to check out Gettysburg and just kind of revel in the history there too, and see where we can capture what happens. Otherwise, I'm always open to any type of like private residences too. I mean, because we handle everything, so it's not just like going to a location and filming, because we do film, but it's like doing outside locations, going to cemeteries, maybe going through the walk on the Appalachian Trail of an area that's considered one of the most haunted woods in Massachusetts, where there's UFOs and cryptids. So there's all kinds of things to kind of do. You just gotta you know figure it out. You gotta plan it appropriately. I even like to go out when there's snow on the ground and just walk around the cemetery and see if I get any hit on any gear, or just kind of be there to feel the energy.
That's cool.
Hmm.
And with snow and the stormy weathers, I bet you do feel a lot of more energy.
Oh yeah, especially with the stormy weather. There's something to be said that it's been talked about a while in the paranormal world, that water, creates just kind of like this stream of extra energy. You know, that all the time when I've done private residences, there's been creeks behind houses, or things like that that just kind of amplify where the energy moves on through there, as well. So yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Wow. Yeah, I did a house. One of my first investigations, I did a house that had a stream actually running through the basement,
Oh wow.
because it used to be a river, but
Okay.
the river dried up for the most part, but there was still a little tiny bit of a stream there,
Hmm.
and they had a lot of energy in their house.
Oh yeah, for sure. That usually is the case. I mean, I had one house in the basement. There was an old well that just kind of like they built the house around it. I was like, okay, well, you know,
It's like, whose idea was that?
yeah, it's like, okay. I mean, I guess whatever floats your boat.
Right. Well, looks like it's about halfway through. So at this time, I'd like to kind of take a midway half break. So I'm gonna play some um, some commercials here real quick. Is that okay?
All right, sounds good.
Okay.
Oh, it's Provoke Austin and Eric?
Okay, and we're back. We have a couple questions. Well, we have one question here for you.
All right.
He says, I love this and I cannot wait to see more of this. And we have one that says, Hey, Anthony, have you gone to any paranormal cons or festivals?
I have actually. So I went to two conventions in Minnesota last year and the year before. So it was my first time kind of doing that, and that atmosphere is just it's awesome. It really is awesome. It's really awesome. There's so many like vendors, from crystals to like witchcraft kind of things and other paranormal teams. And it's really awesome. So I plan to do more of that in the future. At that time I didn't really have like a lot of evidence or really like a lot of things to bring to the table, because I'm all about being authentic in every possible way. So it takes a little extra while when you want to go that extra mile to make sure that you have that kind of stuff to bring to the table.
That's awesome.
Mm.
So if you had anywhere that you could go in the United States, where would you go?
Ooh, I would go to Sweet Springs Sanatorium.
That's cool.
Yep,
And
it's
why would
kind
you
of
go
on the
there?
bucket list. I don't know. I have this thing. It's sympathy. It's wanting to hear the stories of what the people went through when they were there. So it's more kind of giving them the ball in their court, wanting to hear, what happened to them. Do they know that they're dead? Kind of thing. And it just, asylums and jails, that whole kind of thing has always fascinated me. I haven't had an opportunity to go to any place like that yet. So it's on the bucket list. And the owner of Sweet Springs, Cindy Lauper, she is a fantastic gal. She's super sweet and genuine, and really takes care of the teams that go there to investigate.
Nice, nice. It sounds like an awesome place to go to.
Absolutely.
We got Sean Tyson says, I choose the Devil's Tree. And then Zach says, I've heard of that.
hmm
And
Yeah.
Zach says, I really want to go to Alcatraz.
Oh, Alcatraz would be amazing to go to. I know for a while they closed any type of paranormal tours due to the fact that it's so costly to keep the maintenance up for the prison. But I Googled recently, I think they were going to start slowly coming back to that. So there'll be opportunity, I'm sure, in the future to go and do like a tour, maybe even try to do an overnight investigation.
That's cool. That's
Mhm.
cool. I hope that they jot the price down for you guys too, because that price for an overnight investigation is a little high.
Oh yeah, I mean it is everywhere, and you look at all these places, and some people kind of wonder why, but they use it for the purpose to maintain their buildings to make sure that it is at least safe for people to come and investigate. So yeah,
Yep.
you might have to save up a little bit, but it'd be worth it.
Yep. And that's exactly it. If you really want to go somewhere, save up and go to there because the experiences that you will have are priceless.
Oh yeah, especially personal experiences. It's not always about what you get on the equipment.
Hmm.
Your personal experiences can really define a location for you, and I've had a lot of that, and it kind of uh, it kind of makes you humble, in the field. Because I'm a healthy skeptic. Not everything is paranormal. There's
Yeah,
a
that's
lot of
true.
things that can be explained. And on my team, we do debunk things, kind of first and foremost before we even try to arrive at a paranormal conclusion. And oftentimes we still end up saying that it's just plausible. Just because we can't figure it out doesn't mean that someone else can, you know?
Exactly. Exactly. And that there's a lot to debunking
Mm,
and understanding what is paranormal and what isn't, because
right.
I mean, you can't just go out into residential housing and say that it's all paranormal, because what if it's like an energy leak
Oh yeah,
or
absolutely.
something like that?
Hmm. Yep, absolutely. Yeah, I know exactly. And that's kind of like the first thing, we do on my team, we do a preliminary investigation. So we always kind of scout out the location beforehand. We try to take like EMF readings, gas readings, even, CO2, any kind of thing that might, remotely set off, what otherwise people would think would be paranormal. And we try to get clients help too. Sometimes mental health doesn't get talked about enough, and there's a lot of medications and a lot of things out there that kind of mimic what people would say are paranormal experiences. And so if we can kind of get over that and try to help the client through that and get their permission to maybe see like a psychologist or
Exactly.
even a psychiatrist, you're doing good more in one way. So.
Exactly. And that's something that's not talked about a lot in this
Mhm.
field. And it needs to be, because not everything is paranormal.
Yeah, exactly.
And you could actually be doing them more harm by saying that it's paranormal when
Hmm.
it's not.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. And I feel a lot of people that do that, they're either, not knowledgeable in the field, they're kind of at, an amateur, or they just want to say it because they want the exposure, you know.
yeah. Sean says, I agree.
Mhm.
Tyler says, yep. There's a lot of things to the paranormal field that even we investigators that have been around for a while don't understand.
Oh yeah.
So just my advice to everybody is to research as much as you can,
Mhm.
and write in a journal
Oh yeah,
every,
absolutely.
because that will help out a lot as well.
Now, sometimes I do keep my team in the dark about an investigation just to kind of see, if we get any answers that could be validating, so answers that aren't predisposed through like the research of history. It's kind of a 50-50 thing. No, sometimes it'll work and sometimes not. And you just have to take those extra steps and really, do your preliminary investigation before you start your actual paranormal investigation. Conduct interviews, I find, is a huge thing that helps, trying to get everyone's side of the coin about whatever is going on at whatever location it might be.
Exactly. And that's a good way to do it too.
Hmm.
Because then that way who works well with who,
Hmm.
and what,
Exactly.
and what's legit and what's not, and
Hmm.
just and people will judge you for doing that, but in the long run, your team's going to be a lot better for it.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've had it too. I think it pretty much has happened to everybody at some point, where you've gone into a location and you get a huge, we'll say as an example, an EMF spike, maybe over like a copper pipe or something in a really old home, and you're like, "Oh, yay, paranormal!" And you're like, "Wait a second, hold on."
Yeah,
It's not. So yeah, again, it just comes from the learning experience. Learn from your mistakes, learn from your experiences. Document everything. I have a file folder of all kinds of stuff. From over the years that I've been doing it. And if you learn from it, you're gonna become better. In the end.
exactly. And that's awesome that you do that, because documentation is so important.
Hmm.
I can't say enough about it. Just write it down, keep it in a journal, and it doesn't have to be much. You can just even use initials.
Oh yeah.
You can
Mhm.
you can use it pretty much anything that you want to documentation of that particular investigation.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I even the book I actually just finished writing and got published on Amazon. I spent a good little bit, kind of explaining about, how to do documentation. And, as silly as it sounds, even document the weather for that day, because that can, have an effect too. Kind of check your surroundings. It may be a little tedious at first, but it'll be worth it for whatever information you're going to have in the end. If I'm looking at a house and the foundation's kind of lopsided, that'll explain a few things, when you do an investigation.
Exactly, exactly. We have a question from Tyler. I, I hope I'm not going to butcher this name. Havertz.
Hmm.
He says, "Is there any events or upcoming stuff for your team coming?"
I don't have any current events right now. Again, I'm still kind of getting settled here in the New Hampshire area. So I'm working away. I'm going to try to find conventions to go to. I do try to set up like fundraisers because we're a nonprofit team, so we don't take any money from anyone for anything. So donations are accepted. Or I have like a spread shop that sells Spectre gear, t-shirts and all that kind of stuff. So I try to do fundraisers. I do a trunk or treat when it comes Halloween time. So that's a public, local thing to try to raise some money. Or when I partner up with locations, I also try to raise money for them to, have the funds to be able to restore or help maintain their locations as well. So we're trying to brainstorm and come up with some ideas, and partnerships, and figure out, what we can do and get some events going here, hopefully soon, hopefully by spring. It's kind of the off season right now, just
Yeah,
because winter, is really slow and not everybody really wants to go out. And so you take the time to kind of recollect on what your team has learned throughout the year, how you can be better, and new ideas. So,
exactly. And that's another way of networking too. Get
hmm
out there. It doesn't just have to be on Facebook or Instagram
right.
or any other platform. Get out there and make a name for yourself. I
hmm
mean, let your community know that you're here.
Yeah.
And I live in a pretty big Catholic town, so it's a little bit difficult for myself.
hmm
But in the same token, we do have some people that do believe in the same things.
Right.
So it's a little bit iffy, but in the same token, I can get out there and I can network
hmm
with the community, and that's another way that you can get out there and get these buildings and investigations
Oh
going
yeah,
for
for
yourself.
sure. I also find too, or I've come across that another good like networking opportunity is to book an event at a library, even if it's just like Paranormal 101 and you want to go through some terms, or if people want to have a meet and greet with an investigator, or you want to share whatever kind of information or get a group together. Networking at your local library is a really great opportunity.
Exactly, exactly. And the more courses that you do, the more your name is going to go around,
hmm Yep.
and it really does show. I mean, I used to own an art group, and I would go out to the libraries and do
hmm
certain things, and my name did get around pretty fast. So he's
That's
got
good.
something right there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's other places that you can look into, but usually libraries don't charge too much of a fee or no fee at all, depending on, your state. So, it's good for anybody to, get a, get together going.
Yeah. Well, at this time I'm going to take some more questions from the audience if they've got more questions for you.
Sure.
Let's see. I think we've answered all of them, but I'm going to wait for a few seconds. Um, do you have any family members that are into the same paranormal activities as you?
Not exactly. My adorable mother did not appreciate the fact that I was into the supernatural world. My brothers are like, as long as you don't bring anything home, They'll watch like the shows or whatever, but as far as the personal interest in me doing anything, not really. My 16-year-old nephew is really interested. So dad's had to talk to me a couple times about, you can't take him on any investigations yet. He's not old enough.
Right.
But
My sister's the same way.
it's crazy. I mean, I have a lot of friends that are into it. My fiance too, who I'm helping. So I'm a practicing Norse pagan, which is kind of conflicting considering I'm also an ordained minister, among other things. But
That's awesome, and that's
well,
awesome.
it's because people who go through all this and all their experiences and supernatural distress, their experiences are real to them, and they have to jump through a million hoops, like if they want to go through a church to get a blessing, or heaven forbid, in a very rare case, having a house exercised or someone exercised, and it's kind of ridiculous what they have to go through to get help. And so that's why I did it. That's why I went through the process of getting ordained, so I can take care of everybody and be able to help everybody out. So
That's a great idea too, to
mhm.
become an ordained minister, because there are certain things that you can't do without having that knowledge
Oh yeah,
and
absolutely.
that
It's like,
background.
while I practice Norse paganism, I'm an open-minded person. So if my client is, say, Christian, I'm going to follow their belief to help them get rid of whatever, may be at their house, if that's the course of
Exactly.
action that they want to take. So
Exactly.
mm,
And that's another thing too. The different belief systems. We can't just go into somebody's house and expect to do, and let's say a Catholic
mhm.
um, blessing when they might be Jewish or
Right.
another type of culture. I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
it's a great idea to become ordained if you're going to
Mhm.
be doing this investigations.
Yeah, I mean, even just having the knowledge, of the different cultures, of different belief systems, maybe researching like what their myths and legends are, because the whole demon thing kind of comes from the Christian ideology, but there's other beliefs that have a different twist on it, Buddhists or whatever it may be, kind of their own version. So you got to be open to everything, especially if you're trying to help people out.
Exactly. So we have another question here. Tyler says, "Where can we find your book?"
Tyler, my book will be released on April 1st. It's called Tips from the Other Side, and you can find it on Amazon.com. It'll come in a paperback and ebook version.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. And John Smith says, "Would you collaborate with other teams or stay strictly to yourself?"
That is an excellent question because I don't feel like it gets addressed enough actually in the field. I have no issues whatsoever collaborating with other teams as long, but it's kind of a fine line because there have been some teams I've seen, still evidence or still photos or still audio from another team. And that's not okay to do.
Mm-mm.
So, within the realm of caution, I'm always up for collaborating with other teams. I think it's fun. I've done it a few times already. So yeah, I like to do that.
That's awesome. Yeah, I don't get why some teams do that
Mhm.
and feel like they have to steal other people's work.
Yeah,
It's
exactly. I
one
don't
thing to
understand it
share,
either.
but
Mhm.
it's another to steal.
Yeah, I mean, and just even for that reason, when I, do photographs or even some of my videos, I always have like the copyright logo, like our logo, team logo,
Hmm.
on the photo or even, in the video, just to make sure, because then people can't remove it, and we're protected and they can just kind of keep an eye out, especially on social media.
Exactly, exactly. Well, you guys, it's about that time. And I thank you, Anthony, for coming on the show today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Oh, we got another question here.
Mhm.
Zachary says, "What is your idea to grow the paranormal field?"
Ooh, what is my idea to grow the paranormal field? I'm sure everyone's heard of the term. It really is about para-unity. No one's truly like an expert in this field. There's so much unknown still about this field. There's so many subcategories, UFOs, cryptids, whatever it may be. So it's a learning curve. You need to study. You need to do your research and network with people. Have that para-unity. Be willing to help other people out. And I think once people start to do that, there'll be a positive difference, in the paranormal community, and that's what I strive to
Exactly.
do.
And ego needs to be pushed aside.
Oh yeah, especially ego.
That's a biggie
Yeah, definitely.
because we don't all know what's going on. I mean, I've been in the field for almost 25 years now, and I still am learning every day.
Oh yeah.
So,
And that's the best part, though. If you get that knowledge and you learn, and it just again, it makes you humble. It makes you feel grateful to be able to work in a field like this, and be around others to share that with.
yep. And when a lot of people say they've been in the field for so many years, a lot of that can be, um, that can mean they've had experiences. That can mean that they've actually gone out and done investigations.
Hmm.
I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be one particular uh, um, entity. It can be many different things.
Hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I have enjoyed this talking with you, and I think our audience has as well.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
Now, my next question would be is, would you like to come on again in the future?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I love, talking to people and getting education out there and making new friends. So absolutely, I enjoyed it very much.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Anthony, for being on our show. I'm going to go ahead and put you in the back real quick and then go ahead and stay on because I want to talk with you here in a few.
All right, great. Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. Hey, everybody. So, this is our last time going to be on StreamYard. We are switching to Streamlabs. I also want to thank all of our sponsors today. Um, we are revamping a lot of things, and it's going to be for the best. So keep on the lookout for our show, and please also check out our networks: the Provoke Haunting Network and Mystic Visions Network. We're looking for people to join to get your investigations out there in the open, and we will see how many join up here soon. And thank you for joining us.